sisters in Christ Jesus, we have the first reading taken from the book of Kings. We have the continuation of yesterday's reading, wherein we find Prophet Elijah, who listens to the voice of the Lord, the word of the Lord, obeys what God tells him. And just as God commanded Prophet Elijah to stay at the brook, he stood there and he lived there for a while, where he was provided with food, and also he was given both bread and also we have non-veg or meat that was being provided by ravens, according to the command of the Lord. And today the Lord's command reaches him again, wherein God says, Prophet Elijah, leave the place and go to the place that I tell you, for the brook has gone dry now. The reason for this dryness is that there has been no dew or there has been no rain at all. We find the source of water is both of these. Either dew or water through the rain is the source for us to have water. If we are having water, in the sense we have the process of evaporation, condensation, and thereby we get water source. And if there has been no rain, if there has been no dew, then absolutely there is no source for water. So even in this place here, there has been no water for a long time, for there has been a complete dryness, and the brook has gone dry now. Then the Lord commands Elijah, leave the place and go to the land of Zarephath, which is near Sidon. And as he obeys the Lord and his words, he leaves the place and goes to the place. For God has already prepared a place for Elijah where he would be fed. Even in our lives, if God has a plan for us, a specific plan for us, then surely He has a better and best future for every one of us. If God is telling, do this, it would mean then it is for our goodness. It would mean it is good for the community, or it is good for the welfare of the society or the people who are going to be around us. So God's plan is very much, and it is really blissful and graceful. But one thing, one condition that is always required, just obedience. We find Abraham, when he was commanded by the Lord, leave the place, go to the place that I tell you, he obeyed. And when Moses was instructed that I am going to make you a person and you will bring the people of Israel out of the land of slavery, he was ready to accept it, though he was a bit stammering, or he was having a difficulty to take up the task. But God made him to be, and he decided and he did it. So when we are obeying the words of the Lord, surely bliss and gracefulness will be filled in our lives. So obedience becomes a keen part, a keen value that each and every Christian should have. As a Christian, if we don't have obedience, then surely it is not good at all for us. We have the first parents, Adam and Eve, who by the sin of disobedience turned away from the Lord, and the whole plan of salvation was turned upside down when they disobeyed. So disobedience can harm us. It can break up the relationship with the God the Father and with the human beings. So as a Christian, as a true believer, as a person filled with faith, let us be obedient to all that is said. Let us be obedient and let us be keen to the word God is telling us. And whatever instruction He may give, whatever commandments He provides us with, we should be always ready to accept it, and we should obey Him. And we have this prophet Elijah, who obeys the words of the Lord, and he reaches up to the land of Zarephath. There we have a word saying, he reaches and there is a poor widow there. We know the status of this poor widow with the words that is said. She is a widow already, and she is also poor. As she is poor, a person is said to be poor when the necessity things may not be sufficed, when she may not be having enough of food, water, place of shelter, clothing, and much more. So she is already said that she is already to be a poor widow. But God has a different plan for both the prophet and also for the poor widow and her son. God had a great and blissful plan for this poor widow and for the son and for prophet Elijah, wherein this poor widow is going to suffice with the food and water needs of this prophet Elijah. God prepared such a plan. He prepared such a plot that prophet Elijah would be fed by this poor widow, and in the same aspect, they are also going to be paid for the help that they show. And we find the word saying, this poor widow was picking up sticks. What would that imply? Usually, to put up a fire or to make a fire, people will gather logs of wood or stumps of the trees so that the flame will be big and it will be faster to cook. But we find her picking up small sticks. That implies that she is going to prepare only a small fire. Small fire would mean only a little of things that she had. A little of space that she had at home. Maybe the little of stuff that she had at home. So small things or small sticks for a small fire implies that she had little of things. A few things that she could survive for a while. And we have the prophet reaching up to her and asking her, "Women, can you give me some water to drink?" And at once she is ready. She is ready to listen and knows that this person is a man of God who has come, and she goes to fetch some water for him. And at the same time the prophet says, "Will it be also possible for you to get a piece of bread so that I can eat?" And the woman pours out her heart there. She pours out her whole being there, saying, "I have a little handful of bread, and also that is only for me and for my son. It may be just a handful, and with this we are going to prepare a small fire. We are going to cook and just eat. And after eating this, we have nothing else left. We have nothing to do, so we are going to die." The woman, poor widow, says, "With a little handful of bread that we have, we are going to eat. And after this, we have nothing. We have nothing left. And it's complete emptiness there. And after eating this, we don't have anything. And so we are going to starve and die." And the women's words are poured out here, saying, "We are going to die." But prophet Elijah says, and he assures them of a prophecy, saying, "Kindly do what I say." Maybe he's telling her to get a little piece of bread and to get some little water. So he gives a prophecy there and gives the widow an assurance, saying, God has the best plan for you. And as you have provided us, or as you are going to provide me with this little piece of bread and a little of water, surely God is going to bless you. We find in the gospel that Jesus saying, "Whatever you do to the least of my brother," maybe a cup of water that you might have given, and even a piece of bread or a help or support that you give and provide, surely you will be rewarded for it. Even from all that you have, you give a little with your whole heart, then surely blessing will reach up for the little reward that you have made. So here we have prophet giving an assurance and blesses us, saying, until the days of dryness in the land is over, the jars will never get empty. He gives a promise saying that the whole land will be suffering without food, water, or even without rain or dew. But until the days are over, you will never face dryness. You will never face emptiness in your life. And he gives an assurance saying, "Oh, women, don't be discouraged. Don't be worried. Do this act what God is saying through me, and surely you're going to be filled. And the jar is never going to be empty." Even in our lives, we may have a time wherein our lives may be empty. It may be vacant, for we may not know what to decide, or we may be confused in a state in our lives with our situations. We may be completely disrupted, without knowing what to do and what to do next. Maybe heavy financial burdens, maybe heavy sicknesses, maybe misunderstandings in the family, maybe confusions brought by friends and relatives, maybe losses in business. But the word assures saying, put your trust unto the Lord, and surely He will act. And when we are able to put trust in the Lord, surely everything will be removed. Every emptiness will be removed. Every dryness will be removed. And that's the assurance that we get from the first reading. And it just needs one thing from us, just belief. If we are able to believe, if we are able to believe that the Lord who provided to this poor widow with the things that she needed, surely we should believe that the Lord will provide all that I need in my life, for my family, for my business, for my well-being, and for each and everything that I need, surely Lord will provide. And that's the belief that the first reading calls us for. And if we are able to have this belief, then surely goodness and mercy will always follow us. So just like the poor widow, let us also have a belief, because we find prophet ushered saying, get me the thing, do what I said you, do what I told you there. And the woman, as she should have prepared a morsel of bread or a piece of bread, baked it, and she could have given the prophet, and the prophet could have eaten it. And only after this we have the promise being fulfilled, wherein the whole season was over, the whole dryness was over, the emptiness was over. Until then, the poor widow and the son, they had their fill. And the jar was never ever empty. The jar was never ever empty. And it was the belief that this poor widow had over this prophet, or the words of the prophet. So the first reading calls us to have proper solid belief in the Lord who has given us life and who is the creator of everything. So with this belief, we can move mountains. And when we come to the gospel today, we find the words of Jesus saying, you are the salt of the earth and you are the light of the world. Salt. When we have the quality of salt, without a flavor of any dish or any curry that we prepare, the salt is always needed. Each and every dish that we prepare, if salt is not there, the taste is different, for it becomes a flavoring substance for each and every dish. Maybe we have food, as when we have food, salt is added. Maybe we prepare a pickle, and in order to prevent it from decaying or spoiling, we add salt. And even in the past, even in some traditional villages, what they do, even if a person is dead, they want to keep the body for 1 or 2 days, they just put some salt over it and they keep it. And in a way to prevent things from getting spoiled, in order to protect something, maybe bacterial infection or viral infection at times, salt is being used as a substance to stop or to prevent. At times we may have a sore throat, and the doctor may say, yes, in hot water mix some salt and just have a gargling. Because we knew, and it is for sure, that salt prevents infection. So salt at a time becomes a complete good substance for a good usefulness. So at the whole thing that we find, salt is completely useful for all the things, maybe in the food aspect, maybe for the factory industry or any other places that we find, salt becomes a useful substance. But Jesus is telling us, you are the salt. You are the salt. Meaning to say, you should be an useful substance. You should be an useful substance. Just like how the salt is useful. Just like this, how the salt is very much useful in many things, in varied ways. You should also be useful. Meaning to say, our life should be meaningful. If our life is meaningful, then it means that it is being used for the good of the other. So Jesus says, you are the salt. And it is for us to realize that I am the salt of the earth. I am the salt of the earth, and I should be useful for good. And I should be useful. I should be good. I should be pure. I should be clean. And I should be holy. We have the aspect, even with the blessing of the holy water in the church, salt is added to this water so that the water gets purified. So salt also becomes a substance of purification. It becomes also a substance of sanctification. It becomes and makes a normal thing into a holy one. It purifies a thing, and thereby it can be used for holy things. So salt should be considered as a substance that could change our mental lives. And we should consider now that I am the salt of the earth, and I am going to mend my ways. I am going to change my words, and that I may be a useful instrument or useful substance in the hands of the Lord. And when we go further, we find Jesus saying, you are the light. And just like how salt is very much useful, light is also very much useful in our lives. If you are able to see the thing that is the opposite side or near and around us, it's because of the light. It is from the light that the sun gives us. So light becomes very essential thing for us to see things, to observe things, to look at things, to understand, to grasp, and to gain knowledge. So Jesus says here today, you are the light. And this light will imply that again the aspect of usefulness. We may put up a light at homes. We may light up a candle when the power is gone. We keep it in a place wherein the candle light will help us to see the things around. And even in the houses, we may have false ceilings. And we place the lights wherein with this light we could be able to sense things. With this light we could able to see things. And we don't keep lights at the floor or at the corner of the house or behind things, for it becomes useless there. The word today says, the lamp is not lit and a bushel is not kept under over it, so that it's not at all useful for anyone or anything. So Jesus says, you are the light today. You are the light of the world. And as the light, you should send forth exemplary life for the whole world. You should live a life that should be really exemplary for the people around you. As a light, you should set up good examples. As a Christian, as a true believer, as a person of faith, you should set up good examples as the salt of the earth and the light of the world, so that by these two things, the world may be brought together and that you may be useful with it. So Jesus says, you are the salt of the earth, you are the light of the world, and thereby we are called today by the gospel that we become salt for the earth and also light for the world, so that through us God may be glorified, and through us also the needs of the people may also be sufficed. Isaiah chapter 60 verse 1 says, arise and shine, for the glory of the Lord has come upon you. And it's true that the glory of the Lord has already come into our lives through all the sacraments that we are celebrating. And most of the time we fail to realize that the glory of the Lord is in us. And that's the reason we fail to understand and we falter in each and every mishappenings in our life. We get discouraged when we fail to understand that the glory of the Lord is in us. The greater glory and blessing of the Holy God and Holy Trinity is in us. And as we fail to understand, we are discouraged, we are put down, and we are let down. So in this Holy Eucharist, let us pray that we may live up a life that will be completely useful for the society, for God and for His greater glory, and for each and every other people who are near us, around us, and that the greater glory of the Lord may be revealed through us. May the good Lord continue to bless us and lead us, so that we may be the salt of the earth and light of the world. Amen.